He will have to double the support. Now, those were the words from the money-saving expert Martin Lewis when he was asked about Rishi Sunak's plan to help people with the cost of living crisis. When talking about Liz Truss's solution to fix everything with tax cuts, Martin Lewis punched holes in that idea. The poorest in society and pensioners don't pay tax, so you'd be leaving them high and dry. And he compared the cost of living crisis to the warning signs at the beginning of the pandemic, where hospital beds were filling up in Italy and the government was telling people to go to football matches. Lewis was being interviewed for the Radio 4 Today programme.
We've heard mutterings from the Rishi Sunak camp that he will increase the previous handouts that were given. Well, just to put it in context, because we've seen effectively a doubling of the difference between where the price cap in October and January will go from that in May. So if he's going to be consistent, he will need to double every number in that package.
Well, what he said is he was asked about this last night, about the £400, whether it would be the same. And he said he wouldn't be doing that because he wanted to offer targeted help.
He will effectively need, if he wants to make this work, to double the numbers, especially for the poorest, from £1,200 to £2,400, because the prediction, the increase has doubled the gap over where it was previously.
Doubled. So whatever support that happened was being presented before will have to be doubled. Will Rishi Sunak do that? I don't know. He hasn't been talking about doubling the support. He's talked about increasing the support. But remember, even if he did want to do it, the Conservative Party would be the one pulling him back. They would be the one refusing to support this. And I've said this before, there are people in the Conservative Party who do not support any sort of assistance to people who are struggling at the moment. They believe it's big government getting involved, and ideologically that's the wrong way of thinking in their minds. They want small government. They want the private sector to deal with this crisis, not the government itself.
With the Liz Truss case, well, at the moment, look, let's be plain. Tax cuts will not help the millions of the poorest in society who are making the choice between heating and eating. It just will not help them because they don't pay tax. State pensioners, the new energy price cap on typical use, and many pensioners have higher than typical use for obvious reasons, is going to be 45% of the current state pension and more of the older form of the state pension. 45%. This is not a mortgage. This is not rent. This is just energy bills.
Just energy bills. 45% of the state pension is going on energy bills. And it could be more than that, depending on the elderly individual, depending on the pensioner. If somebody has health issues, they may need equipment plugged in all the time. That means they're going to pay probably more. If they're in good health, they don't have any concerns, they're probably still paying 45% of the state pension. This is unsustainable.
And tax cuts are not going to help the poorest pensioners. It's not going to help those on universal credit. Dropping the green levy is a sticking plaster on a gaping wound. It's 150 quid. We're talking a year-on-year rise here.
Also, something to talk about as he said here, the green levy, 150 quid. It's not going to have any impact at all on this cost of living crisis. Something interesting about it is this money is used for what? It's used to provide funding for insulating homes. So this is money that's normally set aside in order to help insulate homes, to protect them from the cost of living crisis. And what does Liz Truss want to do? She wants to take that away. Insulating homes will not completely eliminate bills, but it will provide people with warmer homes, so they will save money in the long term, in the medium and long term on their bills. And Liz Truss wants to take that away for political reasons.
You know, by the time you get to January, over 18 months, some people will see their bills go from £800 to £4,200 on the same use.
800 to 4,200. And what do you hear? You hear from Boris Johnson, it's nothing to do with me. I'm washing my hands of the situation. What do you hear from Liz Truss? I'm going to cut taxes. And Rishi Sunak, we're going to maintain the status quo. Completely useless.
This is a national crisis on the scale that we saw in the pandemic. We are currently in that position where we are watching the beds in European hospitals and doing nothing about it and allowing people go to sporting events. And do not negate the mental health damage that is being done to people in panic now across the nation. And the political theatre of allowing the 26th of August to come when we get the price cap announcement with nothing firm in place is incredibly damaging. When I last spoke to you about, and we talked about potential civil unrest, there were 3,000 people on the Don't Pay group. It's now 100,000 people.
I talked about this on the channel before, the No Pay group. So there's an organization that is encouraging people not to pay their bills and to postpone the payment of their bills or to pay in another way. But on the 1st of October, the idea being that you refuse to pay, at least at the moment. And that has gone, as he has said, from 3,000 to 100,000. We've heard from Mick Lynch, we've heard from Gordon Brown. More and more people, high-profile individuals, are saying something has to be done. And Boris Johnson doesn't give a crap. He's on his way out. He does not care about what's coming down the road, because he will not be affected by it. And you have these two idiots, Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, arguing over peripheral issues and not dealing with this crisis, and not even sitting down and working out something together. If Boris Johnson doesn't want to get involved, then at least they could at least meet and thrash out some sort of deal. This is what we should be doing. If I win, we'll go with this deal. If you win, we'll go with this deal.
This is not something that can wait. We need to get firm decisions coming from the key parties. Rishi Sunak needs to say more detail of what he will do, and Liz Truss needs to say more with what she will do. And if it is just tax cuts and the green levy, then we are going to leave millions destitute and in danger this winter, and that cannot happen in our country.
There you've had it. You've heard it, sorry. It will leave millions destitute and in danger. And it doesn't have to be this way. There are measures that the government can take, but it has to happen now. You can't wait until the last minute, because it takes time to put these measures in place. It takes time to update the system, to provide the support that people need. And as he said, it's a bit like the pandemic, where you're seeing the problems brewing away, and there's time to fix it, but the politicians are deciding, no, we're not actually going to touch this hot potato. Once again, I think it's split between indifference and ideology. One part of the Conservative Party are dead set against any sort of government intervention, and the other side just frankly don't care, because it doesn't affect them. They can actually claim costs like gas and electricity bills off their expenses. They get pretty much free meals when they go to the House of Commons. So they will not be affected by this. So they don't understand it. It's important that there are people like Martin Lewis and others standing up and calling this out. They need to be supported. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.